So what I understand by responsible business conduct is to try and, as possible, not externalize the cost of the a responsible business internalizes all the negativities and externalities and assumes that cost instead of passing it on to somebody else. That is my understanding of what constitutes responsible business conduct. Therefore, a business makes sure that its operations and the cost and price it charges the responsibility for the society, the environment. So when we talk of escalating ESG, I'm quite fascinated by the word escalating, because environment, social and governance considerations have always been part of a responsible business, because we know that they constitute what we also used to refer in the past as enlightened self-interest. So, in other words, this is not new, but this is an old concept which was already entailed upon businesses, but in a new packaging as ESG. But a responsible business in the Indian context is not necessarily the same as how it is interpreted in the Western context today, where they talk, or rather somewhat disproportionately exclusively focused on emissions reduction and agendas which are not necessarily in the interest of the business or the societies in developing countries. So, for example, India has to focus on climate adaptation rather than be overly concentrating on emissions mitigation, because we are not the biggest contributor to the emissions. That is one point. Second, some of the standards that are being imposed on developing countries, such as labor, environment, gender, etc., while they are welcome and we should be pursuing them, developed countries also, we should remember that many of these standards came into existence after they have reached and exceeded particular thresholds of incomes at the national level and at the social level. In other words, many of these things evolve with time. Imposing these costs on businesses, especially small, medium enterprises, may actually turn out to be counterproductive if it actually crimps their freedom of operation and imposes costs on them before they can stand on their own legs. And it can also undermine their competitiveness in the global context. So we need to be aware that while we have to make sure that businesses operate with a good sense of social responsibility, not externalizing its costs, etc., we should also draw a very careful line as to how much of it is appropriate in the context of national and social development. I'll stop here at this point and come back elaborating on some of these things later. Thank you very much.